nation. Hebrew kingdom building.
So today's topic will be the Matrix Part 3. So we say Part 3 because we already did 2 of them in the past. So this is Part 3. Matrix Part 3, Wilderness Mindset. So in the wilderness, we all gonna go to the wilderness eventually. We always talk about it, but it's gotta have mindset.
And so, like we said, we got 2 parts to this. Y'all go to the YouTube and watch it if y'all want to catch up or whatever. But we probably gonna cover most of it, in this. But yeah, so let's get into it.
So, what is the Matrix? Anybody can answer. It don't matter. But
Several KC. Y'all answer.
So, what is the Matrix?
Right, we like participation. So, I gotta say something. Somebody.
Who said that?
You said, say it again. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Right on the money.
That's right on. So, So, right here, showing 7358. Rechem, it's bowels in the belly or womb. So, that's what it is. Go back to the root or whatever, but this is what you'll find when you look up the matrix in scripture. So it's the belly or the womb. So it's very vital that we understand that when we say we in the matrix. Right? Oh, we in the matrix. We're trying to come out of the matrix, right? Right? So we'll get to that here. So next slide. So, this is a review. A little more review. So, quick review. Are we in the matrix? If so, how? So, how are we in the matrix?
Anybody.
Being born into something. That's a good answer.
Anybody else? Anybody else?
We in the belly of the beast.
That's it, right there. That's something like.
So, okay, belly of the beast. That's a good one. Synagogue of Satan, Revelations 2:9-39. If you watch part 1, I believe we brought that out where the people who say they're us are of the synagogue of Satan. We actually it's actually recorded of them saying it themselves. So it's not just us calling them that, but they refer to that themselves as the synagogue of Satan. And so it's not like something that just got thrown in there. It's real life. Scripture's real life. So they control all currencies, judicial systems, and laws, healthcare systems, educational systems, military, entertainment, and media outlets.
Synagogue of Satan. And so, Moray Aesop just said it, the belly of the beast system. We read about the beast all the time. I know Moray just touched on it yesterday about how, I know y'all went over the beast a lot. So, when you understand that we went through, Moray Angelo touched on it, we went through 7 captivities, right? So this one is all of them wrapped up in one. It's the last one, but it's all of them wrapped up in one. It's a beast, and it's a system. It's a systematic thing. So they control all the systems that we seek and we look to, and we're saying this to people who may already know this, but you'd be surprised how many people really don't understand this right now. See what I mean? So thank you, Lord, that He woke us up to this knowledge, to this understanding, because a lot of us are still in the matrix, literally still in the matrix right now. So
And so this is why we're talking about having a wilderness mindset. Because when you look at who controls the currencies, when you look at who controls the judicial systems and laws and all that stuff like that, when we get to the wilderness, we won't have all that stuff. You know, we're going to have to rely on each other, right? For help, for the laws, to govern ourselves, educational systems, you know. So it's like, but I don't want to get to it. No, this is the review. So we touched on the delusion of Israel, Isaiah 66 and 4. How our people were always in the war. Every captivity they went in, they fell in with that system, fell in with it, integrated with it, and became a part of it to where they start worshiping their gods. See what I'm saying? That's what I mean. Not meaning like building houses and all that. Of course, that's what who told us to do. But when we went so far to start worshiping their gods, you know. So how do we come out? Somebody read for us. Read for us. So how do we come out? John 3, 1 through 8.
Next is going to be Romans 12 and 2.
John chapter 3, verses 1 through 8.
Give him a mic.
I'm all right.
John chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. The same came to Yahushua by night and said unto him, Rabbi, we know that thou art a teacher come from Yahuwah, for no man can do these miracles that thou doest, except Yah be with thee. Yahushua answered and said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of Yah.
Hallelujah.
Nicodemus said unto him, How can a man be born when he is old? Can he enter the second time into his mother's womb and be born? Yahushua answered and said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto you, except a man be born of water and of the Ruach, he cannot enter into the kingdom of Yah. That which is born of the flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Ruach is Ruach. Marvel not that I said unto thee, ye must be born again. The wind bloweth where it listeth, and thou hearest the sound thereof, but canst not tell whence it cometh, and whither it goeth. So everyone that is born of the Ruach.
Hallelujah.
So we have to be born of the Ruach. Right now, we're in this captivity. We're in the belly of this beast. But we have to be born of the Ruach in order to start to come out of this thing. You know?
Right. We got to be born again. So, like, where was it saying, a lot of us talk about going into the wilderness. That's one thing, that's like a milestone in our walk right now. Man, we go to the wilderness, the wilderness, the wilderness. We're going to come out, we're going to go to the wilderness. But we don't really understand what's, like, that process mentally, what that's going to take from us. So, when we saying you got to be born again of the Ruach, all these things right here ain't going to matter. No. You got to be born of the Ruach. You got to be born again. So if you depend on the educational system, you got to hang it up. Not saying that you can't get things from it. Not saying that at all. But I'm just saying as far as, like one of y'all said yesterday about going out trying to pursue it. But we don't know where this thing is going. You see what I mean? So that's more Angela. So we got to understand that all these things that we depend on right now, it's not going to be there. Then what we going to do? What are we really going to do? We got to really ask ourselves, how will we really function? Really?
Romans chapter 12, verse 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yahuwah.
Right? So be not conformed to this world, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. This is why we say you have a wilderness mindset. Wilderness mindset is a different mindset though. Because our ancestors, they didn't have a wilderness mindset. You understand that?
So we seen when they came out of Egypt, they were coming out of a system, right? Coming out of a system. They were coming out of a matrix. They were coming out of a womb. See? So now that we understand, that's what our ancestors came out of. When they came into the wilderness, they were not born again of the Ruach. They weren't. And you've seen it clear as day.
Hey, and y'all can touch on this.
God. Just to land back on that, it proves Israel was, remember, Israel went into Egypt as just a group of people. But they came out born as a tribe. And the representation of the bloody doorposts, when they put the bloody doorposts up, it was a sign of protection. But remember, the Most High called them out of the doorposts. And that time they came through a bloody doorpost and they were born as a nation.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Came out the womb. They came right out that womb. So, get the next one.
Yeah, so we must be reborn of water and of spirit, then walk the narrow path, but few be there that find.
So I know this was in, I believe, part 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about the narrow path. A womb is set up as a narrow path.
Yeah.
What did it say? I think the Wisdom of Solomon. It said, can 10 babies be born at once? No, it's a process. They got to come out one by one, the narrow path. You see, so when Mashiach was saying these things, that wide is the path to destruction, be to go down it, but narrow is the path to life, but few be there find it. Few go through that narrow path. Few be born again. Few. So we got to really hone in on that. Hallelujah.
So, coming out of the matrix, where do we go next? It's a rhetorical question. It's kind of in the title. Somebody said something? She said wilderness.
We'll ask these rhetorical questions just to get feedback. Just to get feedback.
So, wilderness, midbar, a place of order. It's a place of order. A sanctuary. The second definition, an arrangement of words. Didn't we receive the words in the wilderness of Yahuwah? So, we got some wilderness misnomers, and these, so a lot of people think America is the land of Yisrael. It's kind of, they're entitled to what they believe, but it's not the scriptures. So, we are going to the land right after captivity. It's a misnomer, because he said he got to take us to the wilderness, so, right? He got to take us to the wilderness after this. The wilderness is not in America, so a lot of people believe that we leave in the cities and we're going to the wilderness, meaning like a country or something like that, in America. We got to see what the scriptures say. We're going to read it. The Most High, He's not going to confuse. He's going to lay out what it is we're going to do. It says, no man knows where it is. So we got a lot of men out here. And it's kind of like us as a personal testimony, 7 men who thought they knew exactly what the wilderness was. And they were going to have a lot of people go with them. And I remember being on the lessons day after day, hearing that. And I myself believed it as well. But nobody knew better. So, we go to Hosea 9. in 13, verse 9. And it's just to show.
Hosea chapter 13, starting at verse 9. O Israel, that thou hast destroyed thyself.
So he said, "O Israel, you have destroyed yourself." We destroyed ourselves.
But in me is thine help.
So in him is our help. It's not in.
Respect to him. It's not in Marcus Garvey. No disrespect to anything that he tried to do. But it's not in him. It's not in Martin Luther King. Not in Malcolm X. It's not in a man that's going to take us out like that. This is not. It's not. It was not in, I know a lot of y'all see the Hebrews out there right now in Israel. It's not in none of them people either. None of that.
I will be thy king, where is any other that may save thee in all thy sins.
So he said, "He'll be our king, whereas any that'll save us in all our cities."
All the places we dwell right now, scattered to the four corners of the earth, what one man is going to be able to take all of us out of captivity like that?
And thy judges of whom thou saidest, give me a king and princes. I gave thee a king in my name and took him away in my wrath.
Hallelujah. So he gave us a man and took him away as well. So you got to understand that the Most High is not the author of confusion. There's a lot of men out here that's saying, "I got the way, pack up your bags, get your plane ticket, we out to the kingdom." It's being real. It's really happening as we speak. You know.
It was one of the, I believe, one of the camps that they just went to Egypt or something like that. Somebody brought that out. Right.
Yeah. There you go. So let's go to Ezekiel 20. We're gonna read that. We're gonna get in there. And we're gonna get this thing laid out.
Hallelujah. Ezekiel chapter 20, starting at the 5th verse. And say unto them, thus saith Yahweh the Elohim, in the day when I chose Israel and lifted up my hand unto the seed of the house of Jacob and made myself known unto them in the land of Egypt, when I lifted up my hand unto them, saying, I am Yahweh your Elohim. In that day I lifted up my hand unto them to bring them forth out of the land of Egypt, into a land that I espied for them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of all lands. Then said unto them, cast ye away every man the abominations of his eyes, and defile not yourselves with the idols of Egypt. I am Yahweh your Elohim.
So right there, it's saying, on the south, told us, don't defile yourself with the abominations of Egypt. So what he's saying to us today is, let's not defile ourselves with the gods of men.
But they rebelled against me, and would not hearken unto me. They did not every man cast away the abomination of their eyes, neither did they forsake the idols of Egypt, that I said I would pour out my fury upon them to accomplish my anger against them in the midst of the land of Egypt. But I wrought for my name's sake, that it should not be polluted before the heathen, among whom they were, in whose sight I made myself known unto them.
So he didn't even destroy him. Because why? He made himself known in the midst of Egypt. They knew who Yahweh was. The Egyptians did. After that, Egypt was never the same after that.
They said all the nations round about.
Okay.
They knew that event. They seen it.
So he could have destroyed them. But he did. He did. Because why? His name sake, that it would not be polluted amongst the heathen.
In whose sight I made myself known unto them, and bringing them forth out of the land of Egypt. Wherefore I caused them to go forth out of the land of Egypt, and brought them into the wilderness. And I gave them my statutes, and showed them my judgments, which if a man do, he shall even live in it.
So, when we go back up the definition, we'll go back to the definition. So he said he gave us his laws, he gave us his words. In the arrangement, he gave us his words in the wilderness. Hallelujah.
Moreover, also I gave them my Sabbaths to be a sign between me and them, that they might know that I am Yahweh that sanctified them. But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They walked not in my statutes, and they despised my judgments, which if a man do, he shall even live in it. And my Sabbaths they greatly polluted. Then I said, I will pour out my fury upon them in the wilderness to consume them.
Hallelujah.
But I wrought for my name's sake, that I should not be polluted before the heathen, in whose sight I brought them out. Yet also I lifted up my hand unto them in the wilderness, that I will not bring them into the land which I had given them, flowing with milk and honey, which is the glory of all lands, because they despised my judgments, and walked not in my statutes, but polluted my Sabbaths, for their heart went after their idols. And drop down to verse 23. I lifted up my hand unto them also in the wilderness, that I would not scatter them among the heathen, and disperse them through the country.
So he lifted his hand up in the wilderness and said, hey, I'm about to scatter y'all. So y'all tripping. Y'all tripping. I just brought y'all out of Egypt, and I did all these things for y'all. So y'all know when y'all go to court, and they tell you to lift your hand and touch the Bible and all that, swearing oath. Oh, so he lifted his hand up with an oath, saying, it's going to happen. I'm going to scatter y'all. So ain't nothing we can do about it. Ain't nothing we could have did about it. Ain't nowhere we could have changed it. Because he already said it's going to happen. He swore, he raised his right hand in an oath.
Because they had not executed my judgments, but had despised my statutes, they had polluted my Sabbaths, and their eyes were after their fathers' idols. Down to verse 33. As I live, said Yahweh with Elohim, surely with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out, will I rule with you. And I will bring you out from among the people, and gather you out of the countries wherein you were scattered, with a mighty hand, and with a stretched out arm, and with fury poured out.
So that's what we're looking for to happen right now. We're looking for that to happen. We're looking for the Most High to bring us out of the wilderness, that all the countries He scattered us, to bring us into the wilderness, and with fury poured out in this nation. That's what we're looking for.
And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face, like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So will I plead with you, saith Yahweh.
So He's telling us right there, I'm going to bring you out, and I'm going to plead with you face to face, like I did your fathers in Egypt. I brought them out of Egypt. So it's going to happen again. Why you think we keep in Sukkot? Why you think you keep telling us keep Sukkot? I'm trying to prepare y'all for this. You read Leviticus 23:33. We dwell in booths to remember when we came out of Egypt. So we can be prepared for this next go-around.
And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. And here you go. And I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me. I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they will not enter the land of Israel, and ye shall know that I am Yahweh.
So, he said a lot right there.
Yeah.
So, are we not sojourning? We don't belong here, do we?
No.
So we sojourn. So he says, I will bring you out from where you sojourn and bring you into the wilderness. And he will bring us into what? The bond of the covenant. So, man, it's right there in the book. But also he said he was going to purge the rebels out. So you mean to tell me he about to bring everybody out? And then he gonna just deal with everybody there? That's what it's saying. It's gonna be people who saying they keep Sukkot every year, who saying they keep Pesach every year, who saying they doing these things every year. But when you get to the wilderness, you're gonna know what's in your heart.
So you telling me that Egypt Hebrews is coming out too?
Oh yeah.
The Egyptian Hebrews?
Yeah.
The Islamic Hebrews coming out too?
All of them coming out.
The what? The anti-Messianics coming out too?
Coming out.
Okay. So everybody coming out.
Because how you gonna distinguish it? Because some people we labor with in the faith and they just switch up. You don't know. You never knew what was in their heart. See what I'm saying? All of a sudden they quit believing in the Shia. All of a sudden they turn into Egyptology. You know?
Nobody thought Korah would do what he did in the wilderness. Nobody thought Aaron's sons would do what they did in the wilderness after all that they seen. Nobody thought that they would do what they did. So this is what we're talking about, the wilderness mindset for. This is why we're talking about this.
Aaron. The high priest. Man, he was slipping and sliding through that, man.
The whole time was a castaway. The whole time.
Man.
So, yeah, you go.
So, why the wilderness? Why does it keep taking us to the wilderness? Why is it taking us to the wilderness? So everybody go to Deuteronomy 8. Everybody go to Deuteronomy 8.
Deuteronomy chapter 8, verses 1 through 3. Will you hear say hallelujah? All right, Deuteronomy chapter 8, starting on the first verse. All the commandments which I commanded thee this day shall ye observe to do, that ye may live and multiply, and go in and possess the land which I will swear unto your fathers. And thou shalt remember all the way which I will thy Elohim led thee these 40 years in the wilderness to humble thee, and to prove thee, and to know that, and to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or no. And he humbled thee, and he suffered thee to hunger, and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not, neither did thy fathers know, that he might make thee know that man doeth not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahweh doeth man live.
So he brought us into the wilderness to try us, to prove us, to see if we'll keep his commandments or not. Because it's easy to keep his commandments now. But when it comes to you being pictured being here, you ain't never going back. You ain't never going back to your bed, Tempur-Pedic bed. You ain't never going back. It's air mattress or nothing. Picture that.
Because everybody's true colors is going to show out. That's why you said in the beginning, everything that system we're connected to, once we disconnect and be everywhere, you got to depend on each other. So when you got to depend on each other, you're going to see which rebel or which person is going to show the true colors. And then he's going to purge that person out. And this is going to show who needs to be in the wilderness, who understands, who has the ear to hear the spirit.
So real quick, I just wanted to say that also, just as in the wilderness, the Most High put them in the wilderness to test them and to prove them. It said that He allowed them to go hungry. He allowed inconveniences to get into them to test to see if they would still keep His commandments. I submit even at Sukkot, y'all. Even here at Sukkot this week while we are here, the Most High will do things to test you to see if you will still keep His commandments. Yes, yes. Think about when we have 2 Shabbats back to back. When we have Shabbats back to back, you might not have all the food that you bought ahead of time, but you still gonna keep His commandments. These are some things to think about.
I got it right here. Break down here with deep water. Now, 2 Corinthians, no, 1 Corinthians, chapter 15. So we're talking about the man and dying to ourselves and trying the spirit in the wilderness. So this is 1 Corinthians chapter 15. It says, and verse 45. And so it is written that the first Adam was made a living soul, and the last Adam a quickening spirit, ruach. Howbeit that was not first which is a ruach, but that which was natural, and afterward that which is spiritual. Verse 47. The first man is of the earth. The second man is of Yahuwah in the heaven. So Yahuwah is taking you to the wilderness to try you to see if you are of the ruach. Have you died to the first man?
You're born again.
And the second man.
So we got to see who's born again. That's what we're gonna see. You've been born again.
Have you been born out the matrix? Somebody got to say something? Have you truly been born out of this matrix?
Because one more thing, because while you're in the matrix, I forgot who said it. He said there's a shadow of things to come. So while you keep coming to these feasts, as you were saying, it's revealing to what you need to get rid of. Because if you don't get rid of, you're going to be the ones that's gathered and you're going to be purged out. That's all Yahuwah is trying to show that's what's inside of you. The small thing, we was talking about strongholds. Because in the wilderness, strongholds is just going to attach to you. All He's letting you know, this is what you're dealing with in sin. And if you won't let it go, I have to purge you out. But I'm showing you a shadow of things to come. So when it comes, there ain't nothing to hold on to. I have to show you as a lesson, as a remarkable lesson.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
So, Cain, I forgot what I was saying.
No, but one thing I was going to say, they went without manna. They went without manna. They fasted. Like we was talking. This is how you know if somebody's strict on their diet, or they say what they say they got, or they not what they say they got. Go on a fast, and after the fast, see what you do. See what you go back to the same stuff that you used to eat, but for the fast. After you starve yourself from something, it's going to, man, after you starve yourself from eating every day, 3 school meals a day, right? And you go without. After you fast, you will find yourself eating stuff you ain't ate in years. How do I know? Because I did it. Pulling up that Whataburger every day. Like, man, I ain't even know I love Whataburger this much. But when you say you're trying to stick to something, or when the Most High makes you go without something, He gonna starve you on purpose. And then He gonna give it back to you. He gonna see how far you gonna go. What are you gonna do with it now?
Why you think Mashiach got tempted by Hashatan after his fast? 40 days, 40 nights. All of a sudden, Mashiach came out of nowhere like, hey, I give you this, give you that. So it's like, just like where Malachi always say, after the fasting comes, trial. See what I'm saying?
Always, no matter what, temptation. It's always gonna come after a fast. What you don't want to do is what you probably gonna end up doing. You see what I mean? It's just like that. And so this is what Yahuwah was showing us. In the wilderness, he's bringing us into the wilderness to try us. This stuff, man.
So let's go to Psalm 78. Everybody can go there too.
Psalms chapter 78, it is, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
All right, starting at the 17th verse. And they sinned yet more against him by provoking the Most High in the wilderness. And they tempted Yahweh in their heart by asking meat for their lust. Yea, they spake against Yahweh and said, can Yahweh furnish a table in the wilderness?
So that's us. That's our people right there.
That's our people.
Can the Most High furnish a table in the wilderness? Can the Most High make a Tempur-Pedic mattress out of this air mattress? You know what I'm saying?
Can I get some ice water? Is there a way I can turn the water into ice?
That's an insight on more and more. That's an insight. But Cain, it was freezing cold. Told myself that I ain't gonna complain. I'm gonna put these socks on. I'm gonna wrap up. But the little sticker things, they weren't as bad last year. For some reason, I guess I just didn't pay attention. And it's like he purposely grew them on steroids this year. You know, because he didn't have to see. I'm gonna see him gonna complain about this. So, I mean, look, you know.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. You ain't gonna have no car going to in the wilderness.
I'm telling you, that wind, hey. That wind is on another level this year.
Hey, let me touch on that real quick.
So the first night at Sukkot, the first night, the wind was, it was worse than any other day so far. You know what I'm saying? The same exact thing happened last year, y'all. The same thing. Like the first night we get here, the wind is just beyond crazy. That last year, we had several tents that went down, and we had several people who left. Several people left over there, because the thought process was probably like, dang, it's gonna be like this every day here. I even thought that was a possibility. But literally after that first night, it didn't happen again, not to that extent. Man, look here. I wouldn't be surprised if that's happening again this year, y'all. Since the first night, we haven't had wind that high since that first night. And I'm wondering if the Most High does that as a test or something. To see,
This is it. I'm telling you. Hey, I told my Isha, I said, we ain't getting another air mattress. Because it go out every night. Hey, we go to bed, just float, sunk in like that. But we not getting another one. Because we gonna humble ourselves and we gonna go through this. Because if we didn't have the air mattress, we'd be sleeping on the ground anyway. So what's the point of going to get another one? Just air it back up,
But to land back on that, what Morgan was saying, some people left because the winds were strong. And it's going to come to a point where the Most High not even have to purge people out in the wilderness. They just going to leave. Because they're not going to be able to handle it. They're not going to be able to handle trusting in the Most High to keep them. Now understand that the Most High to keep them. So that was key right there.
He's going to test our faith.
That may be the means by which he purged them out. You never know.
Exactly.
Because I know there's a lot of people sleeping in, got a 11-person tent, there's just one person in there. They could have, slid in with somebody, keep reading.
Verse 20. Behold, he smote the rock, that the waters gushed out, and the streams overflowed. Can he get bread also? Can he provide flesh for his people? Therefore, Yahweh heard this, and he was wroth. So a fire was kindled against Jacob. And anger also came up against Israel, because they believed not in Yahweh and trusted not in his salvation.
So, man, that just speaks for itself right there. I mean, when we read that, we have to examine ourselves out here. Because Maury touched on it on the first night. I think it was the first night. Murmuring, complaining. Man, but you keep reading, man. It's just...
Though he had commanded the clouds from above and opened the doors of heaven, and he had rained down manna upon them to eat, and given them of corn of heaven, man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. He caused an east wind to blow in the heaven, and by his power he brought out in the south wind. He rained flesh also upon them as dust, and feathered fowls like as the sand of the sea. And he let it fall in the midst of the camp round about their habitations. So they did eat, and were well filled, for he gave them their own desire. They were not estranged from their lust, but while their meat was yet in their mouths, the wrath of Yahweh came upon them, and slew the fattest of them, and smote down the chosen men of Israel. For all this they sinned still, and believed not for his wondrous works. Therefore their days did he consume in vanity, and their years in trouble.
So, man, he gave them the desire of their heart. They lust. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And you need to purge your lust out, because lust ain't always sexual. It's not always sexual. It could be he feed us manna from heaven, but I would rather have some chicken. Literally. Man, what a chicken is.
I need some meat.
And he gave it to him. He gave it to him.
That's what they said in Egypt when they left. They wanted everything, all the food back there.
They wanted all the food, the leeks and melons and stuff from Egypt. So when we come out of here, we'll be talking about this system. We need to be saying, how we gonna grow our own leeks and melons? Let's do this. We'll get to that. So, but
I was just gonna say, we see what he's doing to the nations right now. Like, we can clearly see the fires, the storms. We see it. We say we see it and we believe it. Like, really, really lay us to heart. We see it. We see idols falling over. Like, we see it with our own eyes. But many of us still won't believe. Still.
because when we talk about being reborn again up here, about transformed by the renewing of your mind, being born again of the Ruach, when we go back to that, all the rest of those systems, we see that that's how it's vanity. Because at the point of us being in the wilderness, it's going to be all vanity. All vanity. It's going to be, we got to start from scratch. Where we go from here? Let's rely on your rule. So, but he consumed them in their vanity. So let's not be consumed in our vanity. While we here, while we keep it Sukkot, we don't have the luxuries of sitting in the house in the AC and etc. You know, you gotta actually cook your food. You can't go drive on it. Pull it through a drive-thru. You know? So, I mean, it's deep. But you go to the next slide.
Like I keep out of Colossians 2, 16 through 17. Let no man therefore, before we read this, everybody should know what this means. So I don't want to have to elaborate too deep on it. Everybody should kind of already have an understanding of it. If not, we'll just ask after the lesson. But it says, let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of an holy Sukkot, or the new moon, or the Sabbath days, which are a what? But the body is of Mashiach. So, just like the Aki brought out, just like David was just saying, everything is, all this is just a shadow. When you look at a shadow, let me see if I can find it. When you look at a shadow, anything, just look at a shadow. The shadow is what you're doing right now. Shadow of things to come. When you draw away from an object, shining light on it, you draw away from an object, the shadow gets bigger and bigger. But when the light comes towards the object more and more, right? We know what the light is, right? The shadow gets smaller and smaller, which means the object starts to become more formed to what it's really supposed to be. So the light is coming. It's coming. And that shadow is getting smaller and smaller. Everything, when we come out here, this is a shadow of what's about to come. Your assembly, where you at, is a shadow of what's coming in the wilderness. You're not with an assembly for no reason. You didn't assemble yourselves and join yourself to a body for no reason. It's a shadow of what's coming. You just acting it out. It's an order in every tribe, in every assembly, right? We know that. It's an order, because it's a shadow of what's to come. So if you bucking against the order in your assembly, what you think you're going to be doing in the wilderness?
Hallelujah.
Because what is the wilderness? A place of order. It's a place of order.
If you ain't overcoming your lust in your assembly, what you gonna do in the wilderness when you're with your peoples? Did not the sons of Elohim, or the sons of Israel, fall to the daughters of Moab? Did that just all of a sudden come about, or was that in them from Egypt?
Hallelujah.
That was in them from Egypt. So when he brings us out, let's keep going. Y'all see it?
Yeah. So, wilderness mindset. So we gotta kill some of these things. We gotta kill a lot of these things on this list. The Willie Lynch syndrome. It hit us hard. And it's still affecting us till this day. Can anybody say any things from the Willie Lynch syndrome that they remember or that they know?
Light skinned slave against the dark skinned slave.
God.
Get the fathers out of the house.
Right. And you put the woman in the front, and you make the, as they say, nigga male, and values.
So now y'all see why we need to go to the wilderness?
God.
We really gotta get some stuff in order. He can't just bring us from here and take us directly to the land, because we're defiled all over again. Probably worse than our fathers. Coming up out of this captivity, you know what I mean? So, distrust. A lot of us don't trust each other for whatever reason. Trauma. We don't trust each other. But when we out there, We're going to have to trust each other. We'll have to.
Right.
I got to trust that if somebody come up in this camp, that you're going to defend me. That you're going to be with me. You're going to be standing with me. You ain't going to take off running on a canoe. You know? So, the older versus the younger, you know, it has gotten bad, you know, myself being a younger male, you know.
We don't respect our elders like we should.
We don't.
We just don't. And this thing, it will not be in the wilderness. It will not be. It will not stand in the wilderness. That's a promise. So that's to the younger generation. You get it right now. I'm telling you. And I also like to say a testimony of mine from work. I was at work and it was this elder gentleman, Hebrew, you know, or what Elder Brother like to say, Jacobite. You know, they're not woke. It's a couple of Jacobite. They ain't crossed over yet, you know. So we both drive forklifts or whatever. So he was trying to tell me, no, he was putting pallets in the walkway or even in the driveway, wherever you couldn't get through. He was just blocking the whole way off. I'm like, man. So I already know, you know, supervisor races. Like he really is. Like he weird on the sleeves. And I'm like, man, you know, hey, because he was new. So I'm like, you know, what kind of want to move these or whatever, because, you know, boss gonna be tripping, you know? Just trying to help him out, you know, like, hey, you might as well just set him over there, you know, whatever. And he was like, man, you young Negro, what you talking about? I'm like, what y'all got to do with me telling you to move the pallets? I'm just saying, they gonna come say something to you if you don't move the pallets. I've been doing this, so, and it's going in on me. I'm like, all right, I'll leave you alone. I was just trying to come help out, you know? But when I walked off, what struck my mind was with the lynch. We know for a fact the younger don't respect the older. That's just blatant. But nobody talks about how the elders don't respect the younger either. Nobody talk about that part. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, and I feel hurt because I'm like, man, I was trying to help out. And so I walked off or whatever. I came back and supervisor was getting on me. Like I ain't never seen him get like that before. And I'm just looking, he just looking at me and I'm just like, man, I felt bad because I'm like, man, if you would just listen to me, you wouldn't even be going through that right now. You know? But that was a prime example. Willie Lynch. It's still there. It's still there. He's still working with us. The Most High is still working on us right now. And that just let me know. Because I'm thinking like, man, we waking up. But I'm like, man, I guess we ain't all the way there yet. It was just a reminder. But the men versus the women. See it all the time. We know waking up to this way of life, we see a lot of the brothers, they get yanked all of a sudden in their relationship. They start dogging their wife out or their woman out, talking to her crazy, belittling her, and acting as if they should worship the ground that he walks on. That's how they act. That's how brothers act in this world. I'd be surprised there ain't nobody out here that think like that. I would not be surprised. That's how prevalent it is with our men these days. We do not care for our women like that. Not speaking for myself, but just our men in general. We just don't care for our women. So we are against them. It's an evil eye. With that Deuteronomy 28? Deuteronomy 28, right? That curse is still on us. It's still on us. It's not gone. Look around. And it's the same thing with our women. They don't need us. That's the mindset. Don't need a man. We was talking to Nicole a couple months back, and she was like, yeah, you know, I just, you know, my mom, she was a single woman, so when she raised me up, she didn't, you know, she was always hard with me and rough with me. And so that's the mindset I have. I don't need a man. I'm like, but yet she's married with kids. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, sis, why are you boasting in curses? You say you in this way of life, but yet you're walking curses out. Deuteronomy 28. Same with our ox. You brag on this thing, you say you walk, but you walking the curses out.
Okay.
Don't even realize it. But I ain't trying to take up the mic, man, but what is mindset?
Community brings forth character. So, you'll find out how a person is when you get amongst a group of people. Because you can't hide yourself. Can't hide yourself.
This is why a lot of people stay alone.
This is why people don't want to come to the center. That's why people don't want to, they want to separate themselves. Do their own thing.
See them every now and then, you know.
Okay. So, character will stick out, your character will stick out like a sore thumb when you're amongst a group of people who fear you out. Right? Because if somebody, eventually is going to show how they really are when it comes to how they think about women, how they think about their brother and their sister, how they think about the Most High, think about the commandments. Some people really don't want to keep the commandments. Some people really don't want to dwell amongst their brothers and sisters. They really don't. Because they find every little reason to complain. Every little reason, I gotta go. See, I'm out. This happened, I'm out. I mean, at some point in time, you want to face yourself, like Maura was saying earlier, in the men's meeting, you know, you want to deal with that thing. Because really what it is a lot of trauma in this world that we ain't addressing. So we all woke up and we came into this way. We took on a culture, but we didn't clean the inside of the culture.
Never born again.
We never were born again. And so that's why it's so hard to just dwell amongst people, because somebody's bringing that out of you. You know? So we got to deal with it, man. Loving your neighbor as yourself. Give your last or your best. We have to make sure that even while we're out here, practice that. You know? Oh, it's my last one? You got it. I know I wanted it, but you got it.
But why? Why? Because Yahuwah sees it.
Okay.
He heard when they were, he heard it. He see everything, he hear everything. So when you doing these things, these good acts, these righteous acts, do you not think you're going to receive a blessing from it? Something as simple as giving your waffle up. I'm so serious. It's my last one. Man, you can have it. I'll keep it. Like, that, we got to practice that. Practice it.
It says the dollar in the Negro, of the Negro wealth will be zero. Zero by 2053. Y'all can Google the article. It's out there. So, question. If it's zero, then what does that mean for us? Do that mean we got to depend on each other? Because if I ain't got nothing, you do. I mean, are you going to share? Are we going to come together? Are we going to put stuff together? Are we going to make it work? Because it's coming to that, and it's Yahuwah who's doing it. Eventually, we're going to have to really come together. Of course, there's a lot of doctrinal things that's different and all that stuff. We're different people. But when we get out here to this wilderness, it's going to be a place of order. Place of order.
Will be said.
The words are going to be coming forth again. He's going to meet with us face to face like he did our fathers. So we're going to see the pillar of fire. We're going to see that. You ain't never thought about seeing it. You might see it. You might see manna raining down from heaven.
We may see something better. We may see something different.
Just like
he said, you never knew nor your fathers know. So it may be something that they didn't even get to see.
Man. So we know better, so we should do better. Just like Maury Josh says all the time, you know, Gilbert and Will. He's gonna do the same thing with us. It may be a little different, same gist. But it's gonna be global. Different languages. It's gonna be global, it's gonna be huge. Just like it says in Song of Solomon. Strange salvation. The nation's gonna watch our strange salvation. They never seen nothing like it. Never seen nothing like it. So it says this matrix is a system. And what is this system? Slavery. When you look at the movie, The Matrix, he literally said it. He literally said it. Because usually we put a little movie clip in there, but you know, Wi-Fi ain't working right. But, you know, it's slavery. And so, like Maury was bringing out, dead is next to death. It's equal to death, right? That's it, right? Dead is equal to death, you know. But when you come out of here, and the death don't matter. We all gonna be equal.
Right.
And I was like, hey.
But this is also why it's going to be good that when we do come out of this matrix this time, take those things that he gave you in this captivity, in this matrix. Because, what's his name? Who had to build the ark? No, not the ark, but the Ark of the Covenant. Oh, Bezalel. He didn't just, the Most High put his ruach upon him. But it don't mean he didn't know how to do it. He was already volunteering. I'll do it. I will do it. He already had a feeling he could do it. A lot of us in here can do things, and we gonna be dependent on you. We're gonna be dependent on you to do that thing. So that's it.
Is that?
Luke chapter 11.
Yes. That's all.
Luke chapter 11, verse 17. But he, knowing their thoughts, said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and a house divided against a house fall.
So we gotta come together. We can't be against each other. Can't.
Because that's what this matrix has taught us, to be against each other. So this is being born again, loving your neighbor as yourself. That's the true definition of being born again. Hallelujah. Was there any questions or remarks, anything anybody want to add?
During that time, I'm sure the Most High knows we're kind of silly people, so we don't know how to do all this stuff. So I'm not saying we're complaining because I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, surely He knows we can't do the things they did.
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
I said our ancestors, when they were in the wilderness, they were more paleo kind of people who knew how to live off the land and find food and forage and all that stuff. We're kind of city people, and we don't know this stuff. Yes, we're here at Sukkot, but a couple of weeks probably not going to do us that much. Not going to help us with knowledge. In the wilderness, you know, like I don't know how to fish. I don't want to learn how to fish either. I'm just saying. I don't even touch a fish. Now, if we don't just eat vegetables, I'm all good.
Oh, shit.
She vegan, that's right. She vegan.
That makes sense.
But this the thing. Everything everybody has inside them, it's not for no reason that you know. You know how to do what you do now. You know, like you learned it. The Most High allowed you to learn it for a reason, or go to school for a reason. It's not like an empty thing. So take that thing, because you may have to use it wherever we are. You might.
Right. And I would like to add too, is it a hard thing for Yahuwah to make a man know something overnight? Mm-hmm. Right. So, like, that's where doubt comes in. That's just like our ancestors. They didn't think they could do a lot of the things that they did. They didn't think they could do it. They were coming out of it. That's why they were murmuring and complaining. So that's us. That's our people. So a lot of us are gonna come out and think that, man, are we really gonna be able to? But what did he do? He said their shoes didn't mess up, their clothes didn't smell, they was fresh every day. So for 40 years straight. So it doesn't matter what we have now. I mean, even when you read what is it, Isaiah 60? Isaiah 60, where he says, the wealth of the Gentiles, he says, you will be afraid. He said, lift up your eyes and see round about. For all the wealth of the Gentiles is coming to you. And you're going to fear it. You're going to be like, man, what are we going to do with all this? Like, is this real? You see what I mean?
I'll pray.
That's what order is said. So when we came out of Egypt, we left with great wealth. And so when we come out of, what is it? Genesis 15?
Genesis 15.
And when you read it in the Septuagint, it says we shall come out with great baggage. We're going to come out with something. We're not leaving empty-handed. So they owe us. That's it. So anything that it is that we will need, he will provide. He will provide a Gentile in order to do it.
I do believe that we have a lot of educated people in here that has a lot of skill. We have business people in here. When the Most High bring us out of this, you're learning things today that you will use. That's nothing to do. You're investing in real estate or whatever. Keep doing that and learn what you can learn today. Whatever skills anyone have, don't be afraid to share those skills. Don't hoard up what you know. Don't hoard up what you have. I just took an electrical class, not to do electricity, but for the kingdom, I sacrificed that time. I have to do that. But for those who need that, that's why I sacrifice what I have for Israel today.
Hallelujah. Elder took the words right out of my mouth. I'm going to nail back on that because this is a split image of what we're supposed to be doing in the kingdom, right? This is a trial period. So everything he said, I was laying back as in, whatever you're doing here, you're going to be doing in the kingdom. So if you ain't doing nothing here, you ain't going to be in the kingdom. Because Yahuwah has said that we all going to serve. We are supposed to be kings and priests. What do? They serve the people. So if you're not able to serve the people right now, it ain't going to happen. He gave all of us a gift. So, and he Exodus is going to be even greater. We're not even really worried about that, family. Because everybody got that talent. The question is, what are you going to do with that talent? Are you going to bury it? You know about the talents. Are you going to bury it, or are you going to invest in it? He went to school to invest in that talent. And you know Yahuwah, we're in the time of double. Whatever you put in, he's going to give you double for it. Just like the things that they've done to us, he's going to repay double. Everything that's happening that to us is going to happen to them. That's at the beginning of the lesson, he said that he's going to come and meet with us face to face and deal with us in the wilderness, right? Didn't he say he's going to do that with them? I'm going to bring those nations down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I'm going to deal with them and plead with them for my people. But what happened? Just we brought out, he said, first it has to happen in the house. It starts in the house. So the thing that we're doing right now is for kingdom. We're building the house back up. We're building Yahuwah's house back up. What? Not made with hands. People can't see what's going on. People are fishing right now. They're fishing. When a true fisherman is right here. And they have a fishing tournament. I just found out they have a fishing tournament. I'm like, yo, what is going on? What are you trying to tell us? They didn't have this last year. We're in a new season, family. We're in a new season. Yahuwah's poured out his ruach. What the scripture said? In those days, I'm going to pour my ruach back out, and my elders, my elder man is going to dream dreams. My elder brought out a dream, and our young people are going to prophesy. So pay attention, take heed. He said, don't neglect the prophecy, but prove it. So we are the prophecy, and we are proving it. So when he pour out, we must prove it. How do we prove it? We have our talents, family. So I'm saying all that to say that we must start serving now. It don't matter if you're young or you're old, because the wisdom that you have, you're pouring into a seed. You're sowing a seed for the next generation. We're tearing down strongholds. We're tearing down the Willie Mitch seed. We're tearing down all these things for the kingdom building. So praise Yahuwah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Anybody else while I'm back here?
I was thinking about what you said about we're going to have to share last with one another. The last one we have, hey, I give it to you. If we go back and we read the Torah, when they had the year of return, the 7th year, and one of your brothers needed a loan, the Most High said, loan it to him, and I'll bless you. And then he said, don't say in your wicked heart, here I do was wicked. He said, don't say in your wicked heart, oh, the year returns. I'm not going to get my money back. Because the year return, it goes back. So I'm not going to get paid back. So I don't think I want to loan you. And see, that let me know, take care of the greed, take care of the covetousness, take care of the idolatry in my heart right now. Because if I can't lay down my life for my brother and give him the last, I don't deserve to be with the brother. I don't deserve to be with the Mashiach. Why? Because he laid down his life for his friends. So do I want to be a friend of Mashiach? Do I want to be a friend of brotherhood? Or do I want an idolatrous person that want to hang on that is going down? Mashiach is going to take it down. It's going down now. And I want to purge everything because I don't want to go with it. And I'm not going with it because I don't have to go with it. Now, just one more thing. Say something about the vanity. My sister, I came here. I rode up here with some wedge jean shoes that match my outfit. I'm going to surrender them up now. I don't want you to have to take nothing from me. I want to give it up. So I was in my tent repenting over vanity. And I told my sister, I said, do you think that our Miss Pocket will high-heel wear shoes? Did they wear that? Did they wear that? I said, they didn't. And I said, is high-heel wear shoes in the old path? Is it in the ancient way? It's not there. So I took those shoes, repented, denounced, renounced, divorced, and threw them shoes in the trash can.
When we came in on the first day, a lot of y'all's tent, including ours, kept collapsing, right? And so the first night, it was an east wind, because that's the side of our tent that kept collapsing. The next day, it was a south wind. And the front of our tent, the wind was coming from this direction, which is south, because this is east. The south wind was then collapsing our tent. And then the third day, it was all good. Now, it made me think about that when you brought out that scripture. And I was telling my husband, should I say something? You know, and we was like, maybe you just wait till the end. You know, I want to say it then, so I'm like, ooh, that's what happened, ooh, you know. But it's really ironic. And so another thing, back to what O'Shea was saying, we had done Sukkot a few years ago, and it was with over 2,000 people. It was in Norman, Oklahoma. And, there was a man there who made weapons, and he showed our sons how to go in the wilderness, pick the right tree to make bows and arrows. And that's something that they still remember to this day. And so we see that also in scripture when Yahuwah said, this is your guy, go to him, he gonna be welding all of this gold and these jewels and everything that you bring to him. I want him to be over this, and I want this person to be over that. So it's not so much about what you don't have. Now here's the troubling part, is when people start to separate themselves from the assemblies. When you start to isolate yourself, then you become like a Cain. Isolation is never good. Because then you just with you and just, a few others, and you by yourself, well, how are you going to grow? Because the people you are with, they're going to only have so many talents. So that's why we're practicing now how to labor with the Mishpachah. That's why we come together regionally, and even more possibly thinking about nationally for a Sukkot, to where we can all learn how to labor and dwell together. Because if we isolate it, then it's going to be something missing, because I'm missing part of the body. And so I thought that was interesting.
Bezalel was one person out of how many people? One person out of about 3 million people chosen to do that. You know what I'm saying?
So everybody go to Psalm 78. Psalm 78, verse 26. Everybody say hallelujah. So, repeat what you said, about the wind.
It came first from the east, the next day it came from the south.
So, it says, he caused the east wind to blow in the heaven, and by his power he brought in the south wind.
All right, look up that word, wind, in Hebrew, it's ruach. It is ruach. The men were outside earlier, just we brought out Jeremiah 30. The wind just blew. Yahuwah's presence. Yahuwah's presence. So, my brought out the second Exodus is going to be far greater than the first, because it's going to be ruach. So he can take somebody who knew nothing about fishing and just insert it in them. Double ruach type stuff. You don't believe me? Let's go back to Ezekiel 20. Ezekiel 20, you brought out 33, 34. Ezekiel 20, 33. As I live, said Yahuwah, Elohim, surely with a mighty hand and with a stretched out arm. Who was that arm? Mashiach, Isaiah 53. And with fury poured out, I will rule over you. And I will bring you out from the people and gather you out from the countries where you were scattered. And with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, the ruach. Verse 35. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there I will plead with you face to face. Y'all remember in Exodus 19? Our ancestors didn't want to hear from Yahuwah. They said, we want to hear from a man. But Yahuwah's tabernacling with us again. We can hear this. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! Man, praise the Lord. We can discern. Hallelujah. We can discern his voice and we can hear it for ourselves. He said the first covenant, the renewed covenant, won't be like the first when I took you by the hand, because I'm going to take you by the heart. By the ruach this time. Hallelujah.
But and then last one, y'all. Let's go back to Psalm 78. Go back to Psalm 78. Everybody say hallelujah, y'all. We got it. Okay. So this is continuing what we had read earlier when he had consumed them in his wrath. So it says, starting verse 50. I say 50. 51. We just start at 51 because it's hard to break it up. So he said, and he smote all the firstborn in Egypt, the chief of their strength in the tabernacles of Ham, but made his own people go forth like sheep, right? Mm-hmm. And guided them in the wilderness like a flock. Mm-hmm. And he led them safely, led them on safely, so that they feared not, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies. And he brought them to the border of his sanctuary, even unto the mountain. So go back to the definition. It's a place of order and a sanctuary. So he's going to take us to the border of his sanctuary. Hallelujah.
Rebirth of a nation, Hebrew kingdom building.